Welcome back to the channel. We have some serious run bad announcement to make. We are down 40 buy-ins at 25 an L over the last 50,000 hands to the tune of $1,012.72. Right now, my focus is only on having the right mindset and using the right tools to work my way out of this. I'm sure it's definitely going to help me grow as a player as well. For this one, we're going to do a hand review of 10 of the biggest pots that we lost during this massive downswing. Hopefully, we can figure out what we did right or wrong. And if anyone sees anything in particular, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you like my vibe, hit that subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to chat with me, post hands, feel free to join the Discord. The description will be down below. And for now, we're going to head down to the lab and get started, and I'll catch you all in the next stream.
In the cutoff with pocket sixes, UTG limp, MP overcall, we ISO. It gets folded around back to UTG, who decides to go for a little over 4x limp re-raise. MP gets out of the way, and now it's back on us. Preferably our pre-flop sizing here should be 5x due to the over limp in MP, but we had a short stack player here in the small blind, and we didn't want to get 3-bet and be put in an awkward spot with stack sizes if we put in the larger ISO size to 5 or 6x. Our goal here pre-flop was just to get folds all around and pick up the dead money with the minimum risk as possible. Also, if we did get a call from UTG or MP, we generally see a ton of check folds to flop c-bets. Now let's look at our pre-flop play. We are getting around 10-to-1 implied odds for stacks if we hit our set. However, I prefer this to be 15-to-1 or more, given the fact that we only flop a set 1 out of every 8 times. We don't know if villain will be stacking off every time we hit. Now let's look at UTG's limp re-raising range. We will assign aces, kings, and ace-king suited. And we have the 6 of hearts and 6 of diamonds. And as you can see here, we have 27% equity versus that range, and we're pretty close to the 36.5 required. So I think here we should lean towards a fold, given the fact that our range is likely dominated and the applied odds are still too small. But we still go for the call. We flop a set on a dry rainbow board, call a c-bet. We want ace, king, and aces to continue. Turn doesn't change much. We want the exact same thing. Half pot bet is an easy call, and we set up stack sizes for the river. Now the river gets interesting with the ace of diamonds. Villain shoves. I think finding a fold here is our best option. Keeping our stack intact after having the hand start with 198 big blinds effective. Villain's range is heavily weighted towards aces and kings, but in game it's very difficult to fold a full house. This is called Z-boost theorem, where no player can fold a full house on any given street. However, I have folded in similar situations, but in this case we make the call and see some bad news. I basically leveled myself here into the call with ace king of hearts and ace king of spades in villain's range. And that's that. We lose a big one. Nice end. In the cutoff with ace king, UTG opens, MP folds. We have a clear 3-bet here. Gets folded around, back to UTG with the 4-bet out of position, 3x. Basically here, if we started the hand with 100 BB effective, I'd be more inclined to shoving right back down UTG's throat. However, in this case, we are slightly deeper, and we are gonna try to protect our stack here and go for a call. And we actually RNG'd very high for a call here. Now let's look at villain's potential 4-bet range here. UTG versus cutoff. Most likely it's going to be something like this with queens, kings, ace king suited, some ace king offs obviously 100% aces. We will add in some bluffs as well. Most likely they'd be weighted towards ace 4 and ace 5. Villain also might have some ace queen suited, king queen suited here. Depending on how they play, we have very little information on them at the moment. So I think this is a fair enough assumption of their range. So here is what our cutoff flatting range should look like versus UTG. We have 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, king queen suited, ace jack, some king jacks. We would be 5-bet jamming ace king off and ace king suited if we had it, if we started the hand 100 BB effective. But because of the fact, like I said, we were a little deeper than normal, we elected to flat with ace king off. So here we go to a queen high rainbow flop. Villain continues for 1/4. I think we still have to call here with our 2 overs, and UTG does have some 4-bet bluffs that might shut down on the turn. So we make the call. Turn, we bank the ace. Villain bets around half pot. We have a pretty clear call here. We are blocking the nut flush draw, so it makes it less likely that villain has some jack X with a flush draw. However, we can't just completely discredit that. Their range here has some pure bluffs and also has some ace 4 and ace 5 that we were ahead of. They also have sets of queens, aces, ace queen, and possibly continue with pocket kings. We make the call. River, we go running 2 pair. It's not the best spot to be in, but I don't think we can fold ace king in a 4-bet pot here, where we can be chopping, and we are now ahead of ace queen, and we are still ahead of ace deuce, ace 4, ace 5, and other suited ace X's. We basically just have to sigh and hope for the best, and hopefully we do not see any sets or straights. Villain jams. We make the call. And we see some more Pain Town. UTG, pocket kings. We open, see a 3-bet from MP. Gets folded around back to us. We make a clear 4-bet, 3x out of position. I think that this could be slightly larger, but I think it's fine given the fact that we are a little deeper than normal. MP flats. We go to a flop of 10-9-4 flush draw. I think we can also do some mixing and checking of betting here with our king of spades. However, in this case in particular, we decide to go for the 1/3 c-bet. Villain decides to jam right back at us, and here we are with a bit of a predicament. We are behind some combos of sets here of 10s and 9s that will be calling in this configuration. Villain also has some 10x spade draws, has some naked ace spade draws with ace deuce, ace 3, ace 5, as well as some queen jack open-ended straight draws and queen jack of spades. We are also ahead of pocket jacks and pocket queens. So I still think that there's too many hands here that we're still ahead of, and we cannot fold to this action. We make the call. We end up running it twice, and it doesn't look good on both boards for us, but let's hope. But we get a little unlucky here again, where we brick off on both boards, and ace queen takes down both. GG. Queen jack suited in the cutoff. MP opens 2x. We have a clear 3-bet. Gets folded around. MP flats out of position. We flop the essential nizzles, the nuts, versus this player type. I left their HUD stats for this particular hand because they were starting to get out of line. They were playing 50% VPIP and 30% PFR. So in this case, they were starting to get a little out of line, and we were happy to be playing pots against these player types. Interesting spot here. Villain leads for pot out of position. Donks into me. Basically, the first thing that goes off in my head here is that villain has some type of weak ace, or he's leading with the naked king with no pair. Also, sometimes they do these with pocket pairs like 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s with the diamond as well to deny equity, just in case you're trying to float and hit your king or queen of diamonds. Villain also does have some combos of sets here, 6s and 3s, and also some 2-pair combos as well. I think we are still going to flat here, which we do, and we're going to set it up for a turn shove in case villain likes to go for another large size bet, which we end up getting. Villain leads for a pot again. Our only option here is to stick it in. He could have turned some equity. Like I said, they have some pairs, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. He could have turned a set of 8s with a diamond. However, it's highly unlikely. I think we are still up against some type of ace here, trying to deny equity. We go for the jam. We get snapped off. 6 rolls off. We were hoping basically to see like the ace with like the king of diamonds, naked king with an ace, ace 10, or another weak ace, maybe some ace 3s. But we see the good old ace 6 flat out of position and flopping 2-pair and rivering a full house. 10-5 suited in the big blind. Small blind opens, we 3-bet. Small blind cold calls. We see a paired flush draw board. Small blind checks. We go for the c-bet. We basically want to get folds from pocket 4s through 9s, as well as some flush draw combos that have better showdown value than us. And we see a check min raise. This is where the hand gets a little interesting. This is basically more of a polarizing bet. Nuts or air. Most likely it's weighted towards air. However, small blind does have some nuts like flop full houses, 3s full, and some suited aces. However, I think that this is still weighed more to air, like some type of pocket pair that missed, like 6s through 10s, that does not believe that I have an ace and is most likely putting me on a flush draw. So with that being said, I elect to go for the flop 3-bet here with 10 high. I keep my sizing here fairly small just because that the configuration of blind versus blind in a 3-bet pot followed by a flop 3-bet is such a strong line. I don't think you need to make it too large here to get your point across. However, in this case, we see a snap call, and it started to make me believe that maybe I should have made it slightly larger, but you guys be the judge. We pick up a little bit of equity on the turn. We see a snap check. And now on the turn, we pick up a little bit of equity. Nothing's changed for me. I still feel that small blind has a suited heart combo, Broadway type of hand that has some showdown value that will beat us if we goes check-check, which we want to avoid, as well as the odd pocket pairs that basically are putting us on a flush draw, like I said before, like 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So I think our only option here is to rip it in to avoid that from happening. And we see an absolute snap call. I remember this hand vividly on stream, and I was like, oh man, I just ran into a full house. And we'll see how it plays out. And we see the news. We see pocket 8s snap us off here to that action. 3-bet pot, 3-bet on the flop. Incredible. It is what it is. Fun hand. Maybe I was a little out of line and my sizing was off on the flop, but I think the line that I took, especially on a 3-bet pot, should have cleared the way with hands like that. Nice hand. Jack 9 suited in the cutoff. UTG opens 2x. We 3-bet. Gets back to UTG, who makes the call. Here with Jack 9 suited, it's a little out of line, 3-betting UTG, but every once in a while I think it's okay. We will get a lot of folds here from UTG, and as well as a lot of check folds to a lot of flops if we miss. We flop the nuts, which is always nice. And interesting here, villain leads half pot. I think we have a clear-cut raise here we need to protect versus all types of combo draws with flush draws and sets. And we make it 4x raise here. Villain decides to rejam. Not much we can do other than snap him off, which we do. We get a little bit of backup here on the turn with some flush draw capabilities. And the board pairs with the initial flush draw coming out. And we see 6 high, who snapped me off pre-flop with a flush draw, and 6 with the gut shot straight draw basically, and flush draw. 6 high. Nice hand. Ace king off in the small blind. UTG opens 3x, fold it around to the button, who flats. We go for the squeeze, pretty standard with ace king here. Gets back to UTG, who cold calls as well as overcall from the button. Basically here, UTG and button are most likely trying to set mine here with their range. Maybe some suited broadways as well, but I'm going to say it's heavily weighted towards small to medium pocket pairs. We see a beautiful flop when we flop trips with top kicker. We're going to continue here multi-way. 1/3 I think is fine. We see a flat from UTG, and button gets out of the way. Turn is a jack. I think our best option here is just to stick it in with the stack sizes of villain and in regards to the SPR. And hopefully we get called off by ace queen or some type of flush draw. Hopefully we do not see ace jack or ace 3. We see a call, go to a river, and we see some bad news where villain turned a full house with pocket jacks. I mean, a little interesting that they call the flop bet, but not much we can do here. GG. King 9 offsuit in the big blind. Gets folded around, button goes for a steal. I think King 9 is obviously a call here and to defend. We flop top 2. We check, villain goes for around half pot. I think we can mix here between check calling and check raising. I think there is maybe some merit into donking this flop as well out of position, but I have to look into that more. Villain does have combos of flush draws with a diamond. He does have sets of 7s, 9s. Does have pocket kings, pocket aces. We go for the call, and we decide that we're going to make the move on the turn. See half pot again. We make a 3x raise, basically hoping for pocket 7s or pocket 9s to come back over the top, which villain does have in his range. And we just see a snap flat. This is where it gets a little interesting here. River ace, forward of flush, paired board. I think with a full house, I want to try to get as much value as possible. However, I go for that jam here. I'm not sure if jamming is the correct play. I think maybe betting a little smaller here to get value from king, queen, king, jacks that have 1 diamond in it. However, we're only going to get called here by 7s, 9s, and better kings or river full houses. So it's this can be a little dicey here, but we ended up going for it, and we get snapped off, and we see the running full house on the turn and river for the best hand, and we lose another one. Nice hand. Pocket 4s in the big blind. Cutoff opens 3x. We defend. We flop middle set. We check. Facing pot size bet. I think we could still do some check raising here. However, I prefer a flat at the moment. I don't want to blow my opponent off any random 2 cards or overs that might hit on the turn. We go for the call. Interesting turn, the double flush draw board, which I noticed has been happening recently in all these hands. We go for the check. Villain bets 3/4. I think now's our time to make a move here. We want to make a substantial raise, not too big, because we also want to set up a pot size shove for the river. We make the raise, see a snap call, and river's a 9, doesn't change too much. Villain still has 10s, jacks. queens, and also some, he might even have some 9x here, 8, 9 of diamonds, or some 9x of hearts that decided to pot bet that flop and continue on the river when they picked up more equity with the heart draw. So we decide to jam it in. I think that's our best option to get looked up here by a variety of hands. We see a snap call, and we get a little unfortunate river. Not much we can do here. I'm thinking, going back to the flop, if I would have checked raise flop and barrel turn, if villain would be folding here, I'm not sure. A lot of players in these pools are pretty stationy, and it's pretty difficult to get them off any overpair here, especially when they have a straight draw with the 6 and the 7 on the flop. So it's hard to say. Maybe I played that wrong, playing it, taking that line, but a little unfortunate again. Live and die by the river. Nice hand. Ace 10 suited in the small blind. MP opens, gets folded around. We 3-bet from the small blind, see a fold from big blind, and MP calls. So facing 3-bet, MP's calling range should look something like this. Pocket pairs, 5s through queens. A couple of suited connectors, and obviously all suited broadways here with the occasional ace king off, and as well as some ace 4 and ace 5 suited hands. Now let's look at our small blind 3-betting range, which should look something like this. 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, kings, aces, a couple offsuit aces, and obviously suited broadways. We have some ace 5 and ace 4s as well. And as you can see, we have all the queens here. King, queen, queen, jack, queen 10. So we see a flop of queen 4, 3. We continue here 1/3. I think we can still get some folds here from some of those small pocket pairs, but we're still going to get floated here. Villain does have some of those suited connectors, those 5, 6s and 6, 7s. And have some pocket pairs that might not fold just yet. 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, and jacks. MP calls. Board pairs queen, which is pretty good for us. Like I said, we do have all the queens here. Most of them. And we go for a half pot size bet. We basically want to put pressure on any type of flush draws that villain might have picked up with the diamond. And basically any other ace highs that were floating us on the flop, like ace high hearts, spades, or diamonds that are better than our ace 10. So this bet should be getting those type of hands to fold. And also it's designed to set us up for pretty much a 3/4 pot size river shove if it comes to it, which we see a call. 7 doesn't really change much. I'm really putting villain's range on 6s, 8s, 9s, 10s, and jacks here. There is some ace highs that will continue to call on this river, but not too often to a river shove, especially in this configuration. So we stick it in, and we actually got snapped off here, I remember, in game. So it was pretty interesting to see what villain had. And villain snapped us off with jacks, like with no hesitation. So there's not much we can do. Some of these players are very stationy, as I said in prior hands. However, looking back at my flop sizing, I think I maybe could have made this a little bit larger to represent a queen or an overpair. But I still think if I had a queen, I would still continue like this and continue just as I did on the turn and river with a queen. So it's hard to say what villain would have done and how they would have reacted to it. I think that villain had in their mind that they did not want to fold what they had, and they basically, sometimes when they see boards like this with no ace or king and they have an underpair, they just basically put you on ace king and they're going to call you down no matter what. So I've been noticing that a lot, and you'll see calls here from 8s and 9s and 10s as well. Like I said, if you do not see an ace or king on board and they have a pair and it's a paired board like this, they will not believe you. And that's basically what happened here. So a little unfortunate for us. And that's that. 10 very big pots that we lost over the last 50,000 hands. So hopefully we start to climb out of it. So thank you again for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.